All right, this week in WordPress, 3 articles caught my eye. I sent them ahead of time to Dave so that he could read them and we could talk about them. Article number 1 is called Podcasters High Quality Microphone Shootout. Obviously, this was something that I was interested in. And in our pre-interview, I noticed that Dave has a nice mic of his own and we talked about sound. And when I saw this article, I thought, hey, we should check it out and maybe we could chat about mics a bit. So this is an article that was published on fizzle.co. And it's basically just as it would suggest, it's a comparison of several high-end microphones or microphones that purport to be high-end, and just sound quality in comparison, price quality or price comparisons. And then at the end, there's this, there's a couple recommendations that are made by the author, but I wanted to get your thoughts on it, Dave. What did you think when you saw what mics were being, paired off against each other? Did you have any thoughts on which one would come out on top?
I've always been an Audio-Technica fan. I always like their mics, and they're probably all really good. And that's what's cool about the day we live in today is, I mean, I've been recording music since I had a tape, 4-track thing. And very limited. So I've always been one that believes in, making do with what you have. So one of the best microphones for recording music anyway is a SM57. It's like the standard Shure SM57 microphone for amplifiers. It's $80, $100, and you'll see that at $1 Million studios. You'll see that microphone at so the mic I have, I don't even know what brand it is, MXT or something. I just got it. It was cheap. Came with a second directional microphone, and but yeah, the Audio-Technica ones look really cool. I haven't tried too many of the USB ones to see the quality, but that's another thing to consider is also the sound card you're using. I have a little M Audio M track, which has MIDI and 2 XLR inputs. So that is something to consider. Also the room you're in, if it's very echoey or if you have some soundproofing. I recorded a podcast for my friend, and he was like, "How did you get such great quality?" And I was like, I didn't really do anything. I just kind of set it up how I normally set it up. So he had like a microphone and stuff. So I think he was just in a weird room that was very echoey.
Oh, yeah.
And that can drastically affect it. And actually reading the article reminded me of this video I watched the other day of one of the most soundproofed rooms in like the world, where it is so quiet that you'll go crazy within like 45 minutes. It's at a recording studio.
Seriously?
Yeah, it is so quiet that after like a half an hour, you'll start to hear the blood pumping in your brain.
Oh my gosh! Because you're starting to notice all the sounds that get canceled out by room tone.
Yeah, unbelievable quiet.
That's
even
so
the floor is a mesh floor, and underneath there's no floor. You're like, like in air, and underneath is all soundproofing. Yeah, and
so you probably just feel so weird and so just isolated.
I just think about the nightmare prima donna lead singers, just like, oh
yeah,
like in the studio.
I've been anymore.
I just can't take it anymore. I'm just going crazy in here. I've been that person, so I've definitely felt a little crazy because you get really hot in there and stuff. So, but all of those mics look great. I mean, and for I think their price range, they stayed between like $100 and $500. So
yeah,
it's
I was pretty impressed with the one that he ended up recommending at the end, which was the boom mic that he bought.
Yeah,
but it ended up being great for really and kind of like an all-purpose vocal mic, which I thought was pretty awesome. Because that's one of the issues I've been having with this podcast is when I record. Right now I'm shooting with, HD webcam, and I've got kind of my podcaster's broadcasting mic. But when I shoot video in front of a backdrop, I use a boom mic, and I have been really struggling with getting good sound quality out of my boom. And I think I might have solved some of those problems, but I'm starting to think that it might be a bit of a mic problem as well, because it's the exact same room that that I'm in right now. I just shooting a different angle with the backdrop. And so I'm thinking, if this mic, if I can't end up getting the quality of sound I want out of the mic that I have, I might end up getting this mic that he recommended, the Audio-Technica AT875R.
Oh yes, the 875, better than the 8740.
So it just
they make great mics. I've always liked Audio-Technica. They're a little bit more I'd say they're like mid-range, but I mean, I've recorded on really, really terrible microphones. I've recorded on really amazing, manly microphones, and those things are awesome. I don't know if I'll ever own one, but yeah, those things can make anyone sound like Freddie Mercury. Not anyone.
It is pretty amazing how much better almost anyone's voice sounds with a good mic.
Yeah, it's impressive. Like the technology behind it, and that's a point that I thought about before is just how cool it is to be able to have like a recording studio in your phone with GarageBand, and like so, like I sit in my bed and I'm just like make some stupid song, and then I'll play it on the guitar, and then I'll write a whole song that way, just like coming up with the idea when I'm feeling creative, but I don't want to get up, first world problem. I got to get up. But I'll write some cool melody and stuff, and then go back and then play it on guitar, and then put it out, and it'll sell like dozens of copies, and
that's amazing. Dozens.
Yeah, it'll go wood.
I don't mean to brag, but I sell dozens of copies of my MP3s.
A dozen.
A dozen.
I like giving out CDs. I'm like, it's a million seller. There's a million in my cellar.
Well, for anyone who's interested in grabbing a mic for a new podcast or any kind of audio endeavor you might have, highly encourage you to check out the link that we'll provide to this article. It's called The Podcaster's High Quality Microphone Shootout. Okay, article number 2 is called A Freelancer's Guide to Healthy Business Relationships. And the gist of this article is that, particularly as a freelancer, the way in which you manage your relationships is extremely important. I mean, typically if you're in a salaried job, or you're working as part of a large corporation and you have a position there, the only relationships you really have to manage on a regular basis are your immediate coworkers and your boss. But as a freelancer, literally any relationship can turn into a business relationship, and basically how you conduct yourself, kind of across the board can really determine the success or failure of your enterprise. And so they talk about quite a few things in terms of relationship management. They give a case for why relationships are important, the role that trust plays, the role that networking plays, how to strengthen your existing relationships, and how to overcome challenges or problems in a relationship, including ending ones that go sour or go bad.
That's the fun part.
Yeah, right.
Everyone loves that.
What do you have any anecdotes to go along with that?
No, I've been pretty lucky with. I don't know if it's just the timing or what, if we did something right, or the area I live in, but there's a lot of really talented, awesome people out there, and it's easy to. You get cut off, and like, everyone sucks or whatever, and there's some wacky people out there too. But when you stop, I don't know. A lot of our clients I've met do really interesting things. Actually, a guy yesterday, this guy Phil, who my brother got a call from, he owns the company that makes dust off, like the spray, the compressed air that you probably have. We all use.
For your keyboard.
Yeah. Which is disgusting, by the way. If you ever clean out your keyboard, do not recommend taking a picture of it, but
don't do it on a full stomach.
Oh yeah, it's gross, especially other people's keyboards.
Oh.
But yeah, I was actually spraying out a computer outside to get all the dust out, and this lady drove by. She's like, "You know what all that stuff is, right?" I'm like, "What?" She's like, "It's skin." Have a nice day. And drove by. I'm like, you've just ruined this experience for me. So now I wear gloves. I'm like all grossed out by it.
It's skin.
Yeah, skin. I'm like, ugh. Ugh. And it is. But yeah, so that guy saw his product, and we made this little like commercial thing on the internets, and he saw that we were using his product, so he called us up to hire us to do some networking job. My brother did,
nice.
Yeah, it was just like a very interesting way to meet a client. He's like, oh, they use my product, I'm gonna go with them,
That's
and he
really
like
cool.
just accidentally saw us, and one thing. A lot of our customers, probably every single one of them, we also are customers of theirs in some way, whether it's
like a deli or just wherever you go on a daily basis, because you're local. You're a local
dentist.
Shop, so, right.
My favorite dentist in the world. Like and it's all about trust. Like the article is saying, I loved candy as a kid, and and so I had
So
to
you
get.
now have to trust that dentist on a regular basis.
It's hard to be like, here you go, here's $1,000. You know what I mean?
Fix my mouth.
And like, I'm so happy to give this guy money because he's, he uses, like great stuff. He's just very, very, very awesome. And when you have to deal with something like a tooth problem or something, it's like hard. You don't have insurance or whatever, and root canals are like
Yeah, they're
$2,000 or
crazy
whatever.
expensive.
Yeah. So but it's nice to develop a relationship where like or the car guy, Dan down the road, if he tells me I need a flux capacitor, I don't know anything about cars. If he tells me that, I'm like, all right, and I trust him because I know he's not pulling my chain or anything.
Yeah.
And so the same type of thing with us. You have people that don't, we do repairs, we do networking, web development, a little bit of everything. So you have people that don't understand really what we do, and they're like, I need a computer. Here's a bunch of money. I don't know anything. And you got to take that, and you develop that trust where they're trusting you into providing the right information and doing what's best for them. And you'll make customers for life that way. And you might, everything you can find online with like parts and stuff like that. So we make, all of our money with service. It's like, why am I going to mark up something? You just Google what the price is, so it's like, I get it. So a lot of our vendors, we get for cheaper prices or whatever, but, not all of them, and it's very, very minimum. So we do a lot of our stuff with service and making sure that they're happy and finding out what they like. And one of my web development customers, Andrew, has a company, Machine Art, and this guy's he's got a Wikipedia page for his design, industrial design.
Wow.
He's like, he knows the stuff.
Anybody could get that, but that's cool that someone else made it for out of appreciation.
He had no idea. He had no idea. He had I tried to make one for me and then it deleted and it says you're not relevant. So that's all I know, which I'm not. But so he's somewhat, so his isn't deleted yet.
You're not that important. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. You're not the football player Dave Cahill, obviously. But yeah, so he came in and I did a quick little thing for him he had 2 HTML sites, and I did it quick, and he was like, Dave, it's not perfect. And I was like, you're right. I didn't do the best I could have done. And at first I'm like, oh, yeah, yes, no, it's what do you mean? Getting almost that feeling of no, I didn't. But then I'm like, wait, no, that was stupid. Let me fix this. And he has this relationship. At first I'm like, oh God, this guy's really going to be tough to work with. Yeah. My favorite client of all time.
Oh, nice.
He made me better. He pushed me, and he trusted me. And it was a challenge and a fun challenge, and he wants and he would give me, which was great with Divi, Illustrator, a layout. He would design his site in Illustrator, PSD files in Photoshop, and he's like, okay, I want it to be exactly like this. I'm like, you got it. And before Divi, I made a site for him like that using Thesis, and nailed it, perfectly executed. A lot of hacks and weird stuff with the hooks and all that, and everything with the Thesis theme. And this is 1.87 before 2.0. I don't know anything about Thesis 2.0, but I'm assuming it's much easier to work with.
It's supposed to be a lot more, just a lot more user-friendly towards the designer as opposed to the developer. So
yeah. So and it was cool, but I nailed that job. But then he asked me to do a second site, and this is when Divi was out. I'm like, yes, because it was just going to be so much easier, which it was, and just because different pages had different looks, same feel, but very, very interesting design that he came up with. So I was able to nail that out in a very time-friendly fashion and be able to provide him with different looks and layouts without it being a complete overhaul with what Thesis would have been. So Divi made that much easier. But yeah, the relationship. And I also liked in the article about the other developers or designers that you have relationships with as well, and trading off, or you have a customer that maybe you don't have time for, and it's much better than creating a wall of negativity. No, I'm too busy, I can't. But passing it along to someone.
Yeah, to just say, you know what, I'm swamped right now, but I I appreciate your business, when I can, I appreciate your business and I want to make sure that you're taken care of. So there's someone else that I know who's perfect for this job. They're going to do a good job for you. Here, let me introduce you. I found that's huge. And if you can develop a few relationships like that with other designers and developers, they're likely going to reciprocate that, because if you're building the personal businesses of several people, it kind of becomes natural for them to kind of reciprocate, because they're likely going to get just as busy as you are now, and eventually have to throw some business back your way. I found it works out. Almost everyone I've talked to so far on the podcast has relationships like that, and it's probably a big reason why they're part of the podcast, because they've been successful in one form or another using the Divi, and a big part of that has been the community and the relationships they've built within the community, not just with customers or clients.
Yeah.
We should probably jump to article number 3,
Sure.
UX versus UI. What's the difference and how they apply to WordPress? So this is an article published over on wpmudev.org, and it was by Tom Ewer, and he explains the difference between UX and UI. UI would be, he starts with UX. So UX would be the cultivation of customer satisfaction and loyalty by optimally developing the usability and positive emotional response of visitor experiences with your site. That's very jargony.
Very deep.
Yeah, and it's kind of very philosophical too, but basically it's, you're creating a positive overall experience. That is the goal. You want something to be, I like the word catharsis, but that's also kind of philosophical. But you want to create some type of experience that evokes a positive emotional response. And then UI are the elements that make that up. So, you want this experience, you have this sort of maybe vague idea of how this experience should come about, and your UI are the elements, the really practical technical elements, like your menu, your colors, your all the little, the navigation, all the little things that actually facilitate that experience. So two different things, very closely connected. What were your immediate thoughts on reading this article, and B, how do manipulating these two or working on these two different things with your clients, how does that typically play out for you?
Well, first they'll ask to make the logo bigger.
Yeah.
So you have to make the logo so big that it'll just unresponsibly go off the page, and just to mess with them. No, this actually reminds me, my friend Steve from Arelli Group, he is we trade. I give him my worst customers. He gives me his worst customers. But he's a big UX and UI. It's what he really loves doing. He's very good at it. It's the key things in running a site. And I actually found a really helpful tool that I'd love to tell you about, called Inspectlet. It's a little, Inspectlet, INSPECTLET. What it does is you pop this JavaScript code on, you can put it on the header, so it's every page, or just on one page in a theme template file. But basically, it videotapes, it captures the experience of the user on that page. So I use it for our web inquiry form that I have fill out, which is also handy if you ever get someone that says, well, I filled out the form, and you didn't get it, and it's not in your Ninja Forms or what, and you're like, are they full of it? Or are they honest? What happened? Well, I could actually see what happened, them typing in their name, and I'll actually be able to grab those fields in the rare case that I didn't get their submission. They closed it out before they hit submit, or they don't know what the button does or whatever. Or it's very helpful for when you're developing a site, and because you can actually see their experience. You hear them say, oh, I had a problem with this or with that, and sometimes it's hard to understand what browser, what are they doing. You can actually watch them. They'll click on a link, and it does nothing. And for you, it works in Chrome, maybe Z-index.
Sure.
Maybe it's layered correctly. But
so you're saying you actually put this on your client website, so when they come to you with technical support, you can go back and look at it?
Depending on the client, depending on the amount of intricate UI that needs to be done, for testing purposes, to be able to kind of watch them in the wild, kind of thing. There's a whole theory about if you have a video camera on you, or if you're, just like quantum mechanics, the act of being observed will change
the behavior.
The behavior. So I find it to be a good way to kind of see them interact with it, and it creates like a heat map of where they clicked. So if they're clicking something that's not doing anything, you can actually see it. It'll turn red. Like it'll create like a little heat map of everywhere they clicked. It'll have their IP address, and it's free. They inspect the program. I think you get up to like 45 saved like interactions or whatever. I'll remove it when the site launches, but I keep it on my one site for the form thing, which has been helpful.
That's awesome.
But and also there's a Adobe plugin called Spectre. SPECCTR, which was perfect for working with my client Andrew, who designed the whole site in Photoshop, and I had to then make that into WordPress, and Divi made that super helpful. But down to like, I want it to be 20 pixels in between here and here for the desktop version, and instead of like me counting the pixels or whatever, you would like click two elements, of vector elements, and then click the Spectre thing, and it tells you the size. If you click on the type, you click on it, it'll tell you the font size, the font name, the color. It tells you all the specs, like detailed.
That's
with
awesome.
Just with a click of a button, you get to see the padding, the margin, and it makes it easier when you're then transposing that into WordPress, when you're kind of working on one screen with one program and then kind of making it in WordPress. And I found that to be super helpful, very, very good for coming up with kind of mock-ups and stuff like that. And I like using Divi to be able to make the mock-ups because it makes it so much easier. And I don't know if you've ever had this issue or happen, but you'll give a client like a Photoshop mock-up or something, and they think that's actually what it's going to look like. It's bare bones, because you don't want to spend 5 hours making something that they could just be like, and throw it away.
Right, yeah.
So assuming they're going to be like, all right, fix this, make the logo huge, whatever they're going to say. But if you give some clients like a perfectly geometric, just ugly squares, that's where that's going to be, they'll think like, this looks like the worst thing I've ever seen, because there's, you have to then explain it, and it's an email. So there's a program called Pencil. Pencil is a good mock-up program where it'll make obvious like squiggly lines instead of perfect square shapes.
So they know this is a sketch. This is a mock-up. This is an idea.
Exactly. And you'll have to then explain it. And if they think that that's real, then you might have some more issues than just that. But
you might want to listen to our previous episode of how to filter out problem clients.
Oh, yeah.
Because that sounds like it's the making of one.
That was great. Yeah, that was great. Great episode. The few and far between. You could spot them once you get ripped off once or twice. It's I don't know why.
There's just this weird. It's like a modus operandi of shady people where they don't want to do certain things, or they want something super fast, or they're just certain things that they all do. They email very frantically. They try to like make you feel like there's this huge rush to get something to them, and then they just ghost on you and totally disappear.
Yeah, they go and then it's your fault. Like and it's like you're waiting to like hear back about checking in to see the progress. Yeah, and they do that wherever they go, whether they're working with a web developer or they're getting their car worked on or ordering food across the street. They're going to be a problem. So you try to spot them, and you'll get screwed around with once in a while, but once then and I mean, I would never mess with a web developer. We have the power.
So much power over you. If we've got your website, man, that's my brother is hilarious about that. Like he does this too. He's a WordPress designer and developer, and he actually out of New Jersey. And he
I don't know why I did that.
He has all these like funny things that he'll put on people's websites when they don't pay their invoices, because they'll like, he gets that same thing, like people will skate on him. They'll just be like, they're very attentive the entire creation process, and as soon as it's time to collect the final invoice, like they just try to ghost on him. And so he'll email him, he'll give him a phone call, shoot him a text, whatever, give him enough time, and then he'll send him a warning, be like, hey, I'll have to take your website down if you don't pay his invoice. And if they still don't reply, then he'll put up this like huge image in place of their website that's like, this person doesn't pay their bills.
Flashing gifts.
It's never failed to work. He's always gotten that final invoice.
Wow, that's like amazingly awesome, passively aggressive.
Yeah, right.
It's like next level.
So like go to log into their site and it's just like, this person doesn't pay their bills, and they're like, no, I'm a local business, I can't have that up.
And like
it's
a picture of them in the bathtub when they're 3 years old, naked.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
If anything, I would just forward them to like a Rickroll video. I'll just forward their site to Rickroll, because I don't really have to do that much except that.
That would be pretty nice. That would be good.
Yeah, but I
or the fa la 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 guy.
Yeah. Yeah, I added that to the RiverNet site. The if you do the Konami code on rivernetcomputers.com with your keyboard, it pops up the troll, like the angry guy, whatever, the rage guy face. And he's like, wee, across the page. But I've only had one client try to rip me off. A tale of caution. This guy was a neighbor of ours, and I'm like, this guy will be easy to work with. Mm-hmm. And ends up being just a nightmare, high maintenance, no idea. And it's all about communication. What I do is I do hourly, but I estimate it and tell them it's going to be this amount of time based on experience and what they want. And almost always now I'll overestimate. It's much easier, much nicer to say, hey, look, it only took this many hours, instead of saying, oh God, we need more hours,
More hours, more money.
Yeah. But I always give myself that padding that way, just in case they're a little wacky. But this guy was like, all right, we're like 5 hours away from the estimate, 4 hours away, 3 hours. He's like, oh, add all this new stuff. All right, we're almost there. All right, we're there. Oh, keep adding new stuff. And then I gave him the bill with like 10 hours discounted anyway, just because he was my neighbor. I thought it was going to be cool. And they were like, well, I can't believe the bill. I'm like, I was so and I was annoyed they didn't answer their phone when I first dealt with them, but it was the best thing ever because I had everything in email.
Yeah.
So now I'm writing, well, on this email, on this day, I'm like spending all this extra time because it was just the point. I was like, I did work so hard to try and make you guys happy, and they'll never be happy. And so then I was like, you know what? I talked to my lawyer. I'm like, should I just like give it to them? He's like, what, are you crazy? He's like, charge them. I'm like, what? I'm like, I don't care. It's not worth the money. It's just not worth this like negativity. I don't care. And I was about to go in and say, you know what? Just give me whatever you want. I don't care. I don't need you in my life. And I wasn't able to log in. And luckily, I knew that was going to happen. I created a second admin account. They removed my admin account, and I logged in with the second one I made like 2 days earlier. I was going to go in and just give them the site, and I wanted to just like log in and make a backup. And I saw that, so I backed up the site, deleted the whole thing. I said, and then I emailed them from legal at Rivernet. I just made like a fake email address. The bad guys coming. And they paid within like 2 days, and I put the site
hilarious.
back up. And,
that's such a good little tip, though. Just maybe we should. Okay, everybody whisper when you say this to a friend, but create an email account that says legal at your domain.
Yeah.
Use it for scare tactics
or lawyers.
Lawyers. Yeah, that's very good. I like that. That's nice.
I do that for billing.
Because people who are going to try to screw you anyway. They're probably already scared that they're doing something wrong. They know that they're messing with you. So like the idea that that's going to immediately come back and bite them, like that's probably a pretty good way to get a response out of them, is be like, no, you're not getting away with this.
Yeah. And you don't mess with the web guy. We will put a flaming penile thing on your homepage or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
that's pretty standard practice.
I mean, I do that just for fun anyway on my own site, flaming penile. Whatever. That's a great band name. but yeah, they're out there and having a contract. No one wants to end up suing and stuff. You never want the contract to end up having to like use it for what its purpose is, but it's for both parties. Mm-hmm. So just having that clear indication, but the whole process leading up to it, you can see, are they going to go like rogue? But not always right all the time. Sometimes you assume this person. My one client, I thought it'd be very difficult, ends up being my favorite client of all time. Great guy. I actually will work next to him with me.
And that's pretty rare. Like,
yeah, you don't want to do that with anyone, really.
I learned my lesson a while back with that. I started offering, WordPress coaching sessions, which I actually would encourage people to do if they're good with WordPress. It's a great source of income, but maybe do it as like a like an e-course.
Yeah.
because in person, like I would do like workshops at libraries or workshops at people's homes if they wanted. And I just charge, accordingly. Like I didn't really like going to people's homes. So if they wanted that, I'd charge extra. But anyway, this one guy, he wanted me to come to his home. I went to his home. I, charged him extra. He paid everything on time, but it was just the worst. I mean, Is he
a sloppy mess?
It was a little messy, but more than anything, he just couldn't listen. Like, so you get in this situation where you're supposed to, like, he had some goals that he wanted to accomplish. Like, he wanted his website to do X, Y, and Z. And I sat down there and I'm like ready for business. I took notes on a call beforehand. I was like, okay, I'm going to come in. I'm going to show you how to do this large list of things so that you can now do it in the future. And you're going to have, my notes here. And I want this to be like an empowering session for you. And all he could talk about is like, other websites he's seen. As soon as I'm like halfway through showing him one thing, he's jumping to the next thing and he's like touching. I mean, it's his own screen, so I didn't really care.
Touched you?
No, touching the screen. He's like, I don't know, like, let's go up here. And I'm just like, oh, this is like all the worst things about working.
Your screen?
It was his, thankfully. But it was just, I
hate that.
I have that natural reaction where I'm like, don't touch the screen.
It's like pointing at art at an art gallery.
Right, yes, exactly.
Like, I love that. Right there. Like,
All right, I think we're probably over our time limit on our This Week in WordPress, and we've gotten off track anyway. But we've had some good stories, so I'm happy with it. But I am going to wrap it up. So that is all for this edition of This Week in WordPress. If you're interested in reading the articles we discussed, or in this case, maybe the articles we barely discussed, but other, that you might want to refer to, YouTube viewers can check out the video description for links, and everyone else can find the show notes on our blog. Just go to elegantthemes.com/blog and hit up the community category for Divi Nation episode 13. Don't forget, if you're watching this video on YouTube or Facebook, take a moment to subscribe, follow, like, and or share.